Man, it's so
All
funny. I mean, God, I used your software, I don't know, like 6 years, 7 years.
really?
You were my first jump. I went from Excel to you, and my life got so much better as a result. So, like, as a restaurateur, I've always had like deep love and appreciation for you because there just aren't a lot of things out there that make your life better and easier. And that was one of the things it did.
Hey, that's awesome. Thank you, man.
So
Appreciate it.
it's like meeting a celebrity, right? Like somebody that like positively impacted your life.
All right. Well, I ditto, right, man? I'm super impressed with all that you've accomplished, man. So I can't wait to dive in here. I'll tell you what, let me do a quick intro
Sure.
and then we'll get after it.
I'm
Uh,
down.
all right. What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedule Fly, another episode of Restaurant Owners Uncorked, brought to you by us here at Schedule Fly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and all at a low price point. 18 years in, we've yet to raise our prices. Not saying we never will, but we never have. So we got simple software, great support, low price point. My personal cell phone number is on our website on 3 pages. If you're watching, here's my phone. It's a flip phone. If you're listening, it is a flip phone, and you can call me or text me on that number. It's right there on the site. 30-day free trial. Y'all, if, as Josh just said, if you're on pencil and paper or Excel, make your life easier. Schedulefly will do that for you. And also, depending on what your needs are, if you're on another scheduling platform, you may not have heard of Schedulefly. If you're paying a lot of money for that platform and you're not using anything really but the scheduling and communication, you're paying for venture capital backed or private equity backed platform. We are a little bootstrap business. We'll take good care of you. We got simple software. We'd love to have a conversation with you. So call me anytime on that number on our website. All right. Enough about Schedulefly. Let us get into Restaurant Owners Uncorked, and long time coming. Very excited about this episode. Thank you, Josh, for joining today.
So excited to be here, Will.
Do me a favor and just introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Josh Kopel. I am a Michelin awarded restaurateur who spent 21 years as a restaurateur in Southern California. If I'm known for anything, it's probably the fact that I own multiple concepts across multiple tiers of dining in what was easily one of the most competitive markets in the world. And I did really well. And so, based on everything I learned, I now spend all of my time just sharing for free what I learned and what helped me succeed.
Love it. Love it. How did you initially get into hospitality, Josh? When did it all start?
It all started illegally. Well, at like 17 years old, I had a fake ID and I walked into a bar. And I think, everyone was looking around at the girls and I was looking at the bar and I was looking at the bartenders and I didn't see a bar. What I saw was a stage. I saw an opportunity to perform. I saw hospitality as a performance art from a very young age. And I thought to myself, like, this is for me. And so that started a long, illustrious career in nightlife, which ultimately, over the course of more than a decade, led me into fine dining and then fast casual.
Hospitality as performance art. So you got bit by the
Oh,
bug.
yeah, dude. I always feel bad for the people that are like in their 20s or 30s and they just, they don't know what they're going to do with their lives. Like,
Yeah,
I never had any doubt. Like, this was always for me.
that
And
was
that's a
it.
gift.
I also feel like the overwhelming majority of people that come on this podcast that own restaurants have a somewhat similar backstory, that they were washing dishes at 13 or bussing tables whatever it was, that there's something about the energy, the vibe, the culture, just the feeling they got where they kind of knew, I like this. This is something I'm really, really want to do. And I feel like to be successful in this industry, I'd love your thoughts on this. My take is you better have that in your DNA because it is a tough industry. And there's a lot of people that think owning a restaurant seems really cool and sexy. And there's parts of it that are. but there's a whole many other parts that are hard and challenging and will grind you down and wear you out if you really don't have that sort of like dialed in and baked into something that you feel like this is what I have to do.
For sure. I think that people get it wrong. I think that they think that, people get into this industry because they're passionate about food or they're passionate about beverage. Not to say that there aren't a ton of people in, but those people aren't going to last. Like, I think the people that are passionate about food become foodies, not restaurateurs. I think people
Mm.
that are passionate about people become restaurateurs, because what burns people out are the people. It's not the
Yep.
food. It's not the beverage program. And, oh, I'm just tired of refashioning this every season. It's the people. And so if what you are rooted in is a true love of service, Chick-fil-A, despite their politics, has this great line that they say, if you have a servant's heart, apply within. So like if you truly love serving other people, if you want to be a professional servant, which is I think what we do at the highest levels, then it's for you. And if you like really good food and like you're a really talented cook or chef, you should probably just do that shit at your house, because this is a people business, not a product business.
People business, not a product business. Serve with a servant's heart. It's something else I've learned over the years is that you can, again, I've never owned restaurants, dude. So I just learn from y'all and I listen and absorb. I mean, the true story behind this podcast is 15 years ago, I thought, okay, how about I start interviewing restaurant owners? This was all from our customer base, right? It will enable me to build a relationship with our customers who are just buying this software and they don't know anything about us. And I'm a relationship guy. But selfishly, I also thought, I'm going to learn from all these successful restaurant owners what it takes to be a successful restaurant owner. And I'm going to start my own restaurant one day. And I mean, I even had a name for it, Ribs and Whiskey. Like I knew what I wanted to do. Dude, it did not take me that long of interviewing restaurant owners to say, okay, I tip my hat. Y'all are amazing. I don't have it in me, but I really love hearing the stories. I really learn a lot and I really appreciate what you do and what it takes. And I want to share that message because I think most people don't appreciate that and understand that, particularly for independent restaurant owners, the mom and pop, the 1, 2, 3, 5, like the local community-based independent restaurants. It's tough. It's really tough. And if you don't have that servant's heart where you want to serve your staff, your customers, and your community, it's going to be a challenge.
It's getting harder every day. I mean, the barrier to entry is getting lower and lower with the prevalence of more second generation restaurants. So it used to be if you had $1 million, you could open a restaurant. Now it's $500,000. Now it's $250,000. You could probably spin something up. And it's a very interesting industry because there's a very low barrier to entry, but there's a ton of common interest. And it's because everybody eats, everybody drinks, everybody goes to restaurants. And you go to enough restaurants and you think, from the outside, I kind of understand what this is. I bet I could do it myself. And it's just very interesting because this is as much art as it is science, as it is strategy. But so is law. But like nobody's parents die and they think to themselves, well, I'm going to use this money and open a law firm. Right. But
Yeah.
people do that with restaurants all the time. Say, oh, I've got all this extra money. I'll open a restaurant. See how it goes. How hard could it possibly be?
Yeah.
Which I'm sure as you got into software, you thought the same thing. We all do, right? When we start a business, like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. How hard could it possibly be? And then it turns out it's nearly impossible.
Really freaking hard.
Hard.
So you went from that moment to then owning your own restaurants, having a restaurant group. How many restaurants did you have before you?
We had 3 concepts across Los Angeles.
Okay. And when you decided, was it during COVID? Did you sold your restaurants?
I was pretty close before. Kind of the impetus for the next evolution of my career was that I was super successful on paper, but not particularly happy, and I was really burnt out. And I was in a really bad headspace. I had a 1-year-old daughter at home. I had never changed a diaper. I had never put her down. There are hours just didn't align, and so I just felt like I was failing in multiple important categories in my life, which I know is true of many restaurateurs. Uh, and when the pandemic hit, I gave me an opportunity to stop and say, why? Why am I doing all of this? And so I decided to get a fresh start. So we sold the restaurant group right at the top of the pandemic when optimism was still high. So we got a good price, which was a real blessing. But then it was about, what does this look like when it's done well? And so kind of like for the same reason you started your show, I started mine. And the idea was like, I needed a platform to ask really granular questions to figure out, like, I already knew what I did well, but like, what does everyone else do? And like, because there are these three freedoms that we all want, I think. I think we all want financial freedom. I think we all want freedom of time and freedom from overwhelm. And here I was, literally 40 years old, and I had achieved financial freedom because I'm a really good marketer and I was a really good restaurateur, but I had little to no freedom of time, and I was constantly overwhelmed. And so, I started the show because I wanted to solve for the other two things. And if I couldn't figure it out, I wasn't going to do it again. And so, that has been the journey. And so now I spend all of my time asking about the other two while teaching about the third.
You're asking about time and overwhelm and teaching about financial.
Right. So I think, my core focus is profitability, but more through the lens of marketing. To a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And
Yeah.
so I think the reason that I did well in a competitive environment across multiple tiers of dining isn't because I'm like a best in class restaurateur. It's because I'm a world class marketer. And I was just doing things that other people weren't doing. I saw the world in a very specific way. And so again, we were always busy and customer frequency was always really high. And, we had built this cult like culture around these concepts. And we did that really well. But like delegation, operational and organizational infrastructure, what it looks like to run your business instead of your business running you. These are things I struggled with. And so I started the show to learn more about that. I think, similar to your point, you lead with curiosity and you'll never fail yourself. And that's been the last 5 years.
Been working on a lot of that myself, man.
For sure. Absolutely. That is the entrepreneurial journey. It most certainly isn't unique to our industry.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt about it. You say you're a world-class marketer, which you are, and you
Thank
grow
you,
with your
sir.
restaurants. No, seriously, but you're also a Michelin-starred chef. So, I had an interesting conversation with a chef the other day on a podcast who said there's no skilled chef, there's no talented chefs, there's skilled chefs. And his point was, you don't wake up, you're not born with talent to cook. You learn it. It's a skill, and it's a skill that you can hone and craft and be really good at. But it's something that, does not come naturally. The desire might come, but the actual skill does not come. It's through work. You worked to a point where you became a Michelin-starred chef. I'm curious about that process. I've been learning a little bit more about Michelin stars and what it takes, and then what it means once you have one to try to keep one, and maybe the pressure that comes with that. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So it's to give credit where credit's due. My business partner was the chef. I was the restaurateur. And so I dealt primarily with front of house ops, things like that. Um, he was the culinary genius behind the concept. But I can still speak to the point. And I think that a quality that he possessed, that I possessed, that we aligned on. And this is true, I think, of all people that end up excellent at what they do for a living. Um, is you fall in love with failure. It's about reps more than anything else. And so it's, how many times can you cook this thing incorrectly to cook it right? And when you see that, do you see failure? Do you see that you are one step closer to where you actually want to be?
Yep. Yep.
And it's very true in marketing as well. Everything that I do works for everyone, but it works for everyone differently, right? Because it's based on market, interior of dining, and brand voice, and all of these different things. And so there's something to be said for the fact that, like, it's just not going to work for everybody in the same way. And so you fall in love with saying, this did not work. Great. So now I never need to do that again. And let's get one step closer to where we should be. And that to me, I think is a very common trait. As someone that's interviewed over 500 people myself, it's a very common trait, is that people just fall in love with failure. There's nothing wrong with it.
You have to embrace failure. You have to have a growth mindset. We talked about this the other day. Do you know Carol Dweck?
I do.
The book Mindset. So growth mindset versus fixed mindset. I always think about that Jocko Willink quote where he talks, Jocko good. You ever heard that? Every time something goes wrong, the response is good. And that that's, your mindset is a muscle that you can work. I didn't come by that naturally. I had a fixed mindset growing up, and I've learned to work that into a growth mindset, and I've learned to embrace failure. It can be hard, but it is also something you really have to do, particularly in this industry. And failure becomes it's a tool, right? Not a roadblock, but a tool to help you narrow down to get to wherever it is you need to go.
David Meltzer has this great quote. It has to do with cold calling and sales calls and all of that. But what he says is, he goes, everybody is like 1,000 calls away from $1 million. And so if that's right, and so if that's the case and that holds true, and I would argue that it certainly does, every time you get on a call and somebody hangs up on you or they say no thanks, you think, woo, all right, one more down, next one to go. Now I'm 950 away from $1 million. Frame, right? And it's the reason I think coaching is so powerful. I've had a professional coach for at least the last 10 years. I think that the frame, right, the worldview through which we look at the world is incredibly valuable. So you look at like that Meltzer frame around, 1,000 calls away from $1 million. And you're able to accept rejection joyfully because you're just one step closer to, and again, rejection, failure, all of these things. I think that it builds confidence. It builds resilience over time and helps set your trajectory. It's on a long enough timeline, we all win. Right? So it's just about, like, are you willing to put in the effort to get it done?
Have you ever read Nassim Taleb, Anti-Fragile?
Yes, absolutely.
He talks in there about, like if you're out, let's say that you're a ship and you've been commissioned to go out and find buried treasure in the ocean. And it's in this giant quadrant, right? That could potentially take months to cover. But every day you take part of that quadrant and you explore that area. And every day that you don't find the treasure is actually a win because you've now eliminated that.
Absolutely.
1,000 calls. Like it's there. You're going to get there. So, but you don't view that as a failure each day. You view, good. Now we got less space and eventually you find it, right? I think that's a great metaphor for that kind of stuff. I want to talk about, you've talked about your ability to tell the brand story and marketing and what you did with your restaurants. And now it's something you teach and coach. Let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, I'm going to selfishly ask you a little bit just from my own perspective because,
sure.
Josh, I haven't really told this story. But I mean, we did this for 18 years with 5 guys. And in April this year, I bought out my 2 partners and, we're now sort of like a startup with an 18-year track record and 5,000 customers. So it's a nice place to be, but I'm really trying, like we're really trying to figure out. I mean, I know who we are. I know I can convey what we're all about and who we are and who we serve and who the right customers are for us. But to do that at scale through every piece of our business is something I'm trying to figure out. Right. And, it's not something we've ever really done. So I would just love to hear you talk a little bit about marketing and brand storytelling and, having a really clear voice for a business and why that's so important.
Sure. I think the assumption is that like guys like me come in and we add all of this stuff, that we're just bolting on all of this stuff to your concept. When that's not the case. Like what we're trying to do is strip out. What I'm trying to do is because at the end of the day, like if you were to set a hurdle, a benchmark for a restaurant or for schedule fly or whatever it is, what you want to do is you want to give somebody just enough information to make an informed buying decision. The goal not being that they buy, but the goal being that like when they walk away, they have a clear indication of this is for me or this is not for me. Um,
Yes.
right. As a restaurateur, there was this beautiful, horrible moment in my restaurant. The concept around Pru and Proper, the fine dining concept, was Southern Classics reimagined. So, like, what we did was we took the food that we had grown up on in the deep South, specifically New Orleans, and we had reimagined it, like, tried to elevate it in terms of fine dining. And this woman came in one day, she's just angry. She's like, "Can't you just make a regular bowl of gumbo?" And like, there was a beat. It was like a movie, right? Like, there was a beat. And I paused and like, I live to serve, right? I want to make her happy. And like, I'll do whatever it takes to make her happy. And she goes, "Can't you just make a regular bowl of gumbo?" And I paused and I said, "No, no, I can't. That's not what I do for a living. What I can do is I can refer you to a place right down the street that does that for a living. But that's not what I do for a living." I think that when times get hard, the move is to go wide, right? So like dinner service is suffering. So I'm going to open for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and Sunday brunch,
Yeah.
right? the
Yes.
the menu doesn't seem to resonate with people, so I will expand the menu 10x. A Mexican place opens across the street, now I'm serving tacos. And it just doesn't work. I think that the best marketing in the world is about going an inch wide and a mile deep. It's about being incredibly clear with who you are. And the reason that I got so good at it is because I'm an incredibly ordinary human being. I just sell to me. And as it turns out, I'm like everyone else. If I was a weirdo, this would be much harder than it is. But like the way that it works is like in restaurants, I think that the misnomer is that we're trying to serve somebody that is not us. And so what
Mm.
we do is we discount, even though like we don't respond to discounts, right? If I offer you 2 for 1 something, like that's not going to get you off the couch. Well, but like restaurants do it. It won't get the restaurateur off the couch, but they think that's what other people want. So it's always kind of rooted in like, what do I want? What will motivate me? And I think there are a few key questions that people ask, whether we're talking about software or whether we're talking about restaurants. And the first is, does this thing need to exist in the world? Does the world need another scheduling software? Does the world need another Italian restaurant? There are almost 23 million restaurants in the world. Do we actually need another one? And like whether the person that is patronizing your restaurant or visiting your website, whether they say it out loud or not, that is the first question that you have to answer for them. And then the second question is it for me? So like once you've validated your existence on this planet, then the question is it for me? I interviewed this guy just as an example. He's got a concept called Planta. It's like this super trendy vegan concept. Like it's amazing, dude. Like their build outs are beautiful. Their food is plated beautifully. I will never eat there. That's just not my bag. So like
Yeah.
it should exist, but it's not for me. And so once you answer whether it's for you, the only other question you have to answer for people is, how does this fit into my life? How does it fit into my life? Like, is this a first date spot where I'm guaranteed to like show off and it'll be a great impression? Right? Is this just a quick bite with friends? Is this a place I'm going to get hammered with my buddies? Is this a weekday spot or a weekend spot? Like, how does this business fit into my existing life? And so, right, is it birthdays? Is it celebrations? Is it all of this? One of the advantages and huge disadvantages on the outset of being in multiple tiers of dining is the assumption is that you'll go get drunk at my bar, then you'll go to my fine dining restaurant, and then you'll grab lunch at my fast casual concept. But you won't, because those are three completely different people. And those are three completely different use cases. And so I've got to build audience across all of those three because it's going to fit into everybody's life differently. All of that to say, like, when we answer those questions, the sales process is really, really simple. But you go to people's websites and it's distractions. That's all it is. It's sign up for our mailing list and order catering and this and that. When the truth is, like, anyone that goes to your website has never been to your restaurant before. Have you ever gone to a restaurant's website, patronized that restaurant, and then ever gone back to that website? Never. Ever. It never happens. Right? Yeah. And so, like, should we be talking about the Thursday night special in this thing? No. You just talk about the thing that most people do. Come by for dinner this weekend. And then once they're in, talk to them about Sunday brunch. Get them to sign up for your mailing list. Maybe they'll host an event with you. But until they come in and they try it, nobody's going to do any of that with you. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. I never thought of that question, but that certainly is the case. And the key is getting them there and having that experience be phenomenal and memorable so that they want to come back. But your point is, once they're there, they're a different type of customer than once they haven't come in.
Sure.
They don't need to go back to the website. You've got them locked in. You need to have ways to follow up with them and communicate.
Right. You collect their data. You're then reaching out. You set the expectation. We'll follow up with you in a week. We'll have something really cool. And it doesn't need to be rooted in discounts or freebies.
Yeah.
As it relates to your business specifically, but I think that it works across all businesses, including restaurants. I actually just did a blog post about this, as nerdy as that sounds. Because I'm trying to reach people everywhere they are. I think that every business is in the transformation business. I think that is what we are all here to do. I think you're here to take somebody's state and you're here to change it. That's why they hire you. They hire you for change. And so if we're looking at restaurants, like, what's the goal? The goal is to transform you, right? That a Friday night goes from being you on the couch to something experiential and amazing. I think the gyms, like, you pay a membership to a gym, not for access to gym equipment. You pay for looking at yourself a different way, right? Mm-hmm. For health, for wellness. That's what gyms sell. They don't sell access to equipment. They sell transformation. And so you look at your business and you say, like, what do you sell, right? You don't sell features, you sell benefits. So somebody signs up with ScheduleFly, they save 5 hours a week. Also, they're less likely to double book. Overtime gets reduced by this much, and they've got real-time notifications on this. This is simplified. That's simplified. At the end of the day, I think everybody falls in love with the thing that they build, whether we're talking about software or restaurants, and they forget about the end consumer. And, like, people buy benefits. They don't buy features.
People buy benefits. They don't buy features. And you also need to your point, cut and take away before you add, right? Strip down to the core and essence of what you are versus just adding, let's add this menu item, or let's add that, or in our case, like, let's add this feature, or let's add that. A lot of that's driven out of fear. We talk a lot about making decisions out of love or out of fear.
Sure.
And when times are, when the economy's slow and you're like, we need to add another day part, or we need to add this, versus like, let's take this time to really, really, like, strip away the things that are not us. Just like when Michelangelo carved David, that story about how did you do that? Well, it's easy. I just took away everything that wasn't David out of that plot. Like, it's about taking away. The Taleb talks about via negativa, right? Like, addition by subtraction. It sounds like, if I'm tracking with you, that's a lot of what your philosophy
That's
is.
it. I think that when you look at restaurants, one of the first things we do is strip out the menu. And we don't do that based on what we think is going to work well. We do it based on the data. I think every restaurant menu could probably be cut by at least a third.
Yeah. Yeah.
And why? Because there's scope creep over time. Same with software, right? Where like things just get bigger and bigger and bigger over time, but it's not adding more value. It's adding more distraction. How do you talk about restaurants? Say, yo, Josh, you've got to go to Biscuit Belly. And when you do, you should try this. Right. And so
Yeah.
if that's the case, then like I need to make sure that whatever the this is what you order. And it needs to be obvious that that's what you order. And to have
Yeah.
this surrounded by all of this bullshit that like isn't you, and I'm not best in the world at, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think about like when it's interesting because you mentioned Chick-fil-A earlier. I think of Raising Cane's. I think of
Sure.
In-N-Out Burger out there where you are like, I mean, I lived in Burbank 20 years ago, and I remember going to In-N-Out Burger and I liked it because it was like so simple and easy. And my guess is their menu probably hasn't changed a whole lot
No,
since.
it hasn't.
So then you're really getting into clearly defining who you are, planting your flag, standing strong for who you are, knowing that there are plenty of people you will turn off, sort of like the plant-based vegan place you talked about earlier. But then by clearly defining who you are and knowing who you are, you're also going to build a loyal tribe of people that resonate with that message and that want to be a part of that story. I think about a book called Different by Youngmi Moon, a Harvard marketing professor that I read years ago that I really loved. And she talked about how like this is a great example, like all car manufacturers look at what each other's doing, and like the Camry and the Accord, yeah, the Camry owners were like, oh, I wish it had this, like the Accord and the Accord. And then like the next, the Camry and the Accord are like the same freaking car. But then you take like her example was the Mini Cooper. Like the Mini Cooper turns off most people, me
Sure.
included, but it has a really loyal tribe of people that love it, and they form clubs for it, and they're like totally locked in and dialed in. And it seems like whether it's a software business or a car manufacturer or a restaurant, like that resonates with me of just knowing who you are and not being afraid of it, embracing it, and being, as long as you've got enough of a market to serve that will make your business profitable, like that's a hard thing to do, but probably a very sustainable thing to do. If you look at some of those brands that we just mentioned, like In-N-Out, that have been doing that
But
for.
there are enough loyalists, Will. Like everybody's worried that they've got to go broad because there's not enough audience. But how do you know if you don't niche down? One of the things that I like to think I'm really good at, and I do with my clients, is we analyze their target audience. So what we do is it's a data back thing. We scrape all of their online reviews, all of their social media engagement. We build personas based off that. I can tell you what their age range is, economics, demographics, psychographics. And the reason that we do that is because you're not talking to everyone, you're talking to someone. And the way you would talk to a 55-year-old woman is differently than the way you would talk to a 25-year-old man. People with kids think and function differently than people without kids, right? People with jobs think differently than people without jobs, so on and so forth. Because it's when you're talking to someone, you're able to build meaningful connection. And we're talking to everyone. Hey, guys. Hey, y'all. Just want to thank you all for all of these things. No, like you've got to talk specifically to your best customers, who are the people that have been with you the longest, spend the most money, and give you the least amount of shit. I do this free marketing masterclass. It's 5 days, 5 hours. It's free to everyone. And on the first day, when I start, I say, if it seems like I'm talking to you, like I know this is a group thing and I put thousands of people through it, but if it seems like I'm talking to you, it's because I am. And if through this process, it seems like I'm not talking to you, it's because I'm not. I am only here to solve people that had the same problems today that I had 10 years ago. That's all I can solve in my life. And so that being the case, if that's you, great. You're in for a great ride. And for the rest of you, as soon as you figure it out, log off because your time is valuable. But like to be able to segment like that, to be able to talk specifically, like if you have this problem, if this is what you're looking to solve, I have created that solution because I had the same problem. That's more compelling than, hey, if you're generally interested in this, then maybe you should do that, you know?
Very clear voice, very clear message. Tell me about this class. Who does it? How do you sign up for it? I want to learn more.
So it's a 5-day restaurant marketing masterclass. I got really great advice when I was first starting out. So I do the show gets big, right? It builds audience. And then like people start reaching out and they're like, "Hey, what do you have to sell us?" And I'm like, "It's funny you mentioned that. Nothing." I didn't have anything, right? Because this was like post-pandemic, or in the middle of the pandemic, I had sold the restaurant group. So I end up hiring a coach of coaches. And he taught me how to codify what I know and how to put it together in a way that makes sense. And so I did. And then it was like, how do you get it out there to the masses? And the dude gave me the best advice in the world. He goes, if you want to be the best coach in your industry, just out coach everyone else. Everyone else is going to be afraid to give it away. Just give it all away and you'll build know, like, and trust. And so you look at the model today in at least my sector of the industry, and it's all the same shit. It's all ads to a sales call. And I hated it because on a 1-hour sales call, I can't help you. I can't help you at all. And you came to me because you need help. And so I didn't help you. And you felt like you were sold. It was this bait and switch thing. And everybody gets off the call and nobody's better for it, myself included. So I thought, well, what should I do? And I came up with this concept of like a 5-day thing where for 1 hour a day, for 5 days, once a month, I'm going to teach everybody everything I know in a systematic way. There's a little bit of homework every night. You're guaranteed to make money if you do the homework. Like it's just this thing. And so like, rather than talking about it, I'm just going to be about it. Right. And it's not this like bullshit thing that I'm sure you've seen because I know you're into like education and professional development where they supply like know-how with know-how, where they're like, what you really need to do is increase sales. Have a good day. It's bullshit. So we teach people like granularly how to do it. And so I sit there for an hour and I teach every day. And then at the end of it, people sign up. And because I do most of the delivery, I can't take on a ton of people. And this is the business model. And so at the end of the day, or at the end of the week, hundreds of people learned exactly what they needed to benefit their business. There was no ancillary cost to me, and they get to walk away and go live better lives. And for a handful of people who want to go a little bit faster, they enroll. And like, it's this holistic thing that serves all of the stakeholders. And so I built it out. People can sign up on the website. There's a ton of testimonials related to it. I want to be known as the person that has given more back to the industry than they've taken. And so that's what I built.
Serving with a servant's heart. Bro, is it joshkopel.com? Is that where you sign up?
Yes, sir. Or they can go to restaurantbusinessschool.com and then there's a ton of stuff about it.
Can I sign up?
Yeah, you should. Dude, marketing is marketing. Yeah. It is. And so figuring out like what it is that people look to you for, figuring out how to build know, like, and trust, and really determining who your best people are and how to connect with them in a really authentic way. It's great.
So dude, I don't normally like do a lot of prep for these things because I like it to be kind of a free flow and a conversation, but I was a little nervous having you on here because you're like this big celebrity guy.
Oh, please. So I was your customer, Will.
I literally went to Chat GPT and I said, tell me some good questions to ask Josh today. Based on what he's talking about. So I'm going to look at some of these things here.
Sure.
Well, it mentions AI in action. It says you've described custom GPT tailored to restaurants. So talk a little bit about restaurants and AI and custom GPT tools and how they can leverage those.
Sure. So it's My thesis is this. I think that, again, like if marketing is all about working quickly, one of my favorite quotes in the world is money like speed. How do we work as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible? And so, if money like speed, AI can certainly ramp things up. Um,
Okay.
there's this great quote that I got from Peter Newland, who is a restaurateur as well. I don't know where he stole it, but it's a really great quote. What he says is, if you treat AI like an assistant, it functions like an assistant. If you treat AI like an executive, it functions like an executive. So, like when you enroll in my program, one of the first things that we do is we train an AI. We train a custom GPT. It interviews you for hours, but then it knows everything about your business, everything about your business, and it has perfect recall, right? And then we infuse it with my marketing and all of my systems and frameworks and all of that. And we're able to just move faster. And so what we're doing is we're figuring out uh, everything there is to know about your business and then leveraging data. We do really cool things like we use it to standardize SOPs so that like instead of sitting down and writing something out, you just video yourself doing it and then it builds out SOPs. On the marketing side, what we're able to do is we're able to do a competitive analysis and figure out where there are holes in the market.